Hey guys, it's M4J here, and welcome back to the M4J network here on OpenTTD. Now, last week we built this, which is Plintbridge Common, the actual common. The station's over here, the depot's over here. Some other stuff is going to be down here in the future, I'm sure. As you can see, it's starting to actually grow. I'm still curious, actually. Where's the farm that these fields are coming from? Because I could have sworn... Is there a farm around here? Oh yeah, there it is. Mixed farm. Yeah, that might have to go, I'm afraid, because this is part... Well, it's meant to be part of a city. We're not supposed to... Although there are... I mean, London's got a inner city... Anyway, that's not what I was going to talk about. The farm is... The common is doing its job. The plazas that I've placed around here, there's one there, there's one there, there's one there, there's one there, and there's one here. And I think that's all of them. They're generating passengers. We had like 700 passengers waiting here just now. This train is now full. Awesome to see. As you can see there, look, full train. Very, very happy with that. That is beautifully in line with what I want all of these like stations in the sticks to be like. With that in mind then, we're going to move on to the next part of this project. So this bus project that we have going here, it's going okay. If I show you station names, you see all the bus stops that we built I was going to say 2 weeks ago, but there wasn't an episode last week, so it was like 3-4 weeks ago now. Work commitments, that's why there wasn't an episode last week. I'm sure you guys know that by now. Yeah, so all of this area down here still needs to be done. That will happen in the future, I'm sure. Even over here is... Basically, I mean, anything inside this box needs to be filled with buses. Because this box, as you remember, is Greater Gardcity. So, funnily enough, Dimple East isn't actually part of Greater Gardcity. Neither is Sibbertsham. Maybe this southern bit can be extended slightly. Especially as Gardcity South is nowhere near Gardcity as well. This, by the way, seems to be doing okay. I haven't actually looked at it much since I built it. But, I am loving this design. I think it might get a little bit... It's a bit like Factorio. It might get a little bit built up, a bit busy once we start plumbing more trains through. But right now, at least, it seems to be okay, which I'm very, very happy about. And I will at some point come through, I'm sure, and start having trains stop at the depot as well. Do we... Oh, that's not what I meant to press, but actually that gives me what I was looking for. 216 crates of manufacturing supply. Okay, so that's working. And this one over here... I will get to the point of the episode in a minute, don't worry. Because the missus is going to be starting to nudge me in the back about how long this is going to take. Yeah, I keep promising, like, oh, don't worry, it's only going to be half an hour. And then, like, an hour and a half later, I'm still going. That's what happened with Transport Fever yesterday, by the way. Do I regret it? Not one bit. So, today, GSB over here, Gardcity St Bartholomew, otherwise known as Guard Square. And there's the square, and it's most definitely guarded. We built this, well, like a year or so ago now, maybe even longer. That feels like 2 years ago I built this, and if that is the case, that's terrifying, because it feels like last week. But yeah, we built this, and since then, not a lot really has happened with it. Until today. This overground line, so there's this one here that goes out and joins up with the underground over here and becomes a single line. New Safing Hill Parkway and things like that get linked up, and it goes all the way out as far as... Station name I can't remember. Ploffingberg, there we go. Works very nicely, very happy with it. However, this other line, the electrified, overhead electrified line, doesn't go anywhere right now. It sort of stops at a dead end here until today. Because I'm actually going to try and finish this line. Now, I've got an idea as to where I would like it to go. There is a temptation to actually join it up with this line and run it up to Bunhattan. I could do that. I could have it go via like Nunford, Rindingbury. Just realised how low that plane's flying. That distracted me then. Through Nunford, Rindingbury, maybe even have a station here at Froningwell. And then head east-ish and maybe connect up here. Like before Flenning Hall North. And then have trains run to Bunhattan. The reason that would be good is you'd then actually be able to have trains leave... where am I going? Leave GSG and head to Bunhattan without having to cross over here. So it would go through Gloucester Gardens, through Nenfingbourne, and instead of turning north here, it would continue through Runfingwell, and then along the loop, past Ley Hill, past Rinfingford, then it would go up through Mansden Road, GSB, and then out towards Bunhattan. That's one option. The other option is just have it go out east, and maybe connect up. It could terminate at Menhill. It could even join up with the Great Eastern Line here, and then go out to Menhill and beyond. Or it could just go up here to like New Frunningston, things like that. I think I'm going to do a mixture of two. I'm not going to join it up with the Great Eastern. I don't think that would be... I think that line's too congested anyway. So I'm not sure if that's a good idea. We could potentially go up to Bunhattan via this line, but then we need dual voltage trains, and that's not necessarily going to be good for us here. I think the best thing to do is to have one branch, have it split here at Nunford, have one branch head up this way towards Bunhattan, and have the other head east, maybe run parallel to the Great Eastern, although have it go through some of these places, and then maybe have it go to its own station here at Menhill City. Bearing in mind this is supposedly the eastern border of Greater Gardcity. I don't know if I like that even. I think it needs to be longer than that. But yeah, connect it up somewhere like over here-ish. Maybe even get it up as far as Centborough, but that might be too much. Although that would connect nicely there to the Network Central line. We'll see about that. We'll improvise that in a little bit. But let's do the first bit first, as you do. So we're going to get this. We're going to go new. I'm going to rename you GSB2, and I think it's just BUN, Bunhattan, I think. And then we're going to add, and you're literally just going to go straight north from here. Although we are going to have you turn slightly east here to go through Bundwood. Now I might actually have it connect up a little bit further over, maybe just before Pontbridge Station. Like so. That might work better. Pontbridge might even become a 4-platform station, just for that. I kind of like that. But no, I kind of like that. I don't know why I wouldn't do that. So yeah, I think we're going to do that. And then the second half, we'll come back to. Let's get going then. Now, during this episode, I have a conversation topic. Let me just open up Discord. It's been a while since I loaded Discord on this PC, so you'll have to bear with me. Basically, some announcements have been made since I last did like rail news stuff. And I am going to... I mean, bear in mind here, if you're new to the channel and you're watching this, bear in mind I'm not an authority figure when it comes to rail. You know, I'm literally an amateur, knows next to nothing about the subject for the most part. There are certain things that I know because of my background, but most of it is not really relevant. Sorry, I'm just waiting for Discord still to do its thing. It says it's starting, so we'll see if that's actually true or not. I think the junction, by the way, is going to be in this gap here when it does get built. So I'm gonna probably prep the land now. Again, anyone who saw my Transport Fever video yesterday, you'll know how much land prep I like to do now when it comes to building rail. Oi boy, that video yesterday, that there was a few times where I thought, am I doing the right thing here? But by the end of it, it kind of made it all worth it. So not going to complain too much. Anyway, what was I talking about? Yeah, so rail announcements. That's what I was trying to talk about. I'm waiting for Discord still, but I'm going to start talking, and if I get things wrong, just know it's because I haven't got my sources of information with me. Basically, this announcement is to do with integrated rail in the... it wants me to log in. Hang on. Where's my phone? I can do this. I can do this. God, has it really been that long since I last logged into Discord? That's crazy. Bear with me, guys. That's not the right thing. I can't remember how you log in, actually. That's, oops. What a day I'm having. So yeah, integrated rail. That's what I'm trying to talk about, if my damn thing will damn let me. Nope, that's wrong as well. So sorry guys, I'm having a moment, it seems. Oh, there we go. Found it. Scan QR code. There we go. Right. Scan. Yes, log me in. Awesome. I could have just got the message on my phone, actually. What am I doing? Anyway. Integrated rail, take 3. It's these new announcements that have been going on at the moment. And I think there are certain people... I'm not going to get too political, by the way. Absolutely not. We know the rules around here. But there are some people in certain offices who seem to think that we're fickle fiends who can just be won over by a few like buzzwords and things like that. And that's definitely not the case. And a lot of people have been screwed by this new proposal. And, you know, I'm going to fixate on some things that most people say aren't good to fixate on. And I agree with that. But I just want to use them as examples as to how this is not a good idea. At least in my opinion, what's been announced. Now, again, I'm not an authority figure in rail. You know, I'm not Gareth Dennis or anything like that. But I think some people will agree with me when it comes to some of these points. Mainly because, you know, at the end of the day, right now we're in a situation where things aren't great money-wise all around the world. And it can be seen as being irresponsible to spend huge amounts of money on rail projects, especially high-speed rail projects. And we can't really point at China and say, well, they're doing it, because, I mean, China are in a different league when it comes to, you know, resources and finances and things like that. So I don't think it's a fair contest to include them in the argument. You know, they're literally in a league of their own. But other countries, you know, France, Germany, Spain. I mean, Spain are expanding their high-speed rail network, and if Spain can do it, I'm pretty sure we can do it. And it really annoys me that this high-speed 2 conundrum has been going on for such a long time now that I'm just bored, like sick and tired of hearing about it. I just want, at this point, I kind of want it all to be cancelled just so I don't have to hear about it anymore. That's where I'm at. Obviously, as a rail enthusiast, I don't want to see that. I want to see projects like this get built. I want to see projects like this succeed. And I think that, given time, these projects will succeed. Again, it's very easy for me to say that right now because I have no qualifications in the subject. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, building the damn thing is a success. Running it for profit, on the other hand, is a completely different thing. It's really tricky for me to sit here and not be political about it, but I'm gonna do my best. For those of you that don't know, and again, I'm going off what I've been told on Discord, so some things might be slightly inaccurate, not because of any malicious intent or anything like that, but purely because it's, you know, it's playing a game of whispers essentially. They said it to them, who said it to them, who said it to them, and eventually it comes through to me. So there is a very good chance that some of the news isn't strictly... Oops, punch my steering wheel. I say that a lot in videos, by the way, and I'm sure you guys don't have a clue what I'm talking about. I have a steering wheel on my desk for when I play F1 and things like that. I've not actually used it for a while. I'm hopefully using it tomorrow or today when you're watching this. But, yeah, anyway, segue. Do you know what? I've actually forgotten what I was going to say there. But anyway, the thing that I'm gaining from this, so there was an announcement recently, government announcement, to do with rail projects, not just in the north of England, but all over the place, and particularly the north of England is where the big, let's say, controversy comes from. For those of you not in the know, High Speed 2 is a high-speed rail connection that's meant to link London to the Midlands and the north of England via a new high-speed route being built from Euston in London up through Birmingham, or up via Birmingham because it doesn't technically run through Birmingham, but to places like Liverpool, Manchester, Glasgow, etc. It comes in technically two stages, but I always counted it as 3. You've got phase 1, which is London to Birmingham. That's pretty much been given the green light and is currently under construction. Phase 2 is, or phase 2A, is Birmingham to Manchester via some new line, or lines, and some pre-existing lines. So I believe Crewe was the original transfer point, and I believe Crewe is still the transfer point, where it kind of switches from high speed to conventional rail. And then phase 2B is the eastern side of that. So it would run to Newcastle via the East Midlands, Sheffield, Leeds. And then from there it would run up to Edinburgh and beyond. Now, phase 2A is also pretty much good to go. I think it's been stripped back slightly. I have got a map on Discord. Let me just close this for a second and I'll check that for you. So, yeah, there was 2 stations at Birmingham and Birmingham Interchange. There's 2 stations in Manchester. There's Manchester, which is technically Piccadilly, but I think it's a brand new station being built next to Piccadilly, so I don't know if it's going to still be Piccadilly or whether it's going to be, I think, is it Mayfield is what the station used to be called, next to Piccadilly, or London Road as it used to be. I believe that is what is being reused. Again, I could be wrong. And in Birmingham, it's the old Curzon Street station that is being repurposed. And I believe the original building is going to be incorporated into the new building, which is always nice to see. Well done, designers, on that one. Not everything has to be glass and steel, you know. I'm a fan of glass and steel. I think the new St Pancras station building is absolutely gorgeous. However, as a football fan, I've been very lucky to go to a lot of new stadiums over the years, and I'm getting a bit bored of everything being this big grey, soulless glass and steel box. So it would be nice to see, you know, some brickwork and things like that again here and there. So again, designers, if you're listening, please please have something that's in some way related to the past as well as the future. Pretty please. Anyway, let me just destroy this mine and all of these buildings. Again, apologies to those who don't like to see me bulldozing stuff, but it makes me feel good inside. This new proposal then. So, as I said, phase 1 is effectively underway. There's a lot of controversy around it. People are protesting about it. Do we need it? It's a white elephant. It's a waste of money. The one I absolutely adore, and I say this with such sincerity, it's absolute dynamite, is those who say, why not just invest the money in upgrading the existing infrastructure? And I always say to those people, sure, but that's going to take like 10 years minimum, and I bet you're going to be the first one to complain when your train's delayed because of it. So pipe down. And believe me, I saw a lot of that over the years. When the West Coast Main Line was upgraded, when was it? It was during my lifetime. It was about 15 years ago, I think. Oh, the complaints. Oh, the complaints. Network rail are useless, blah, 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 blah. But these are now the same people who are saying, can we upgrade the existing infrastructure? The answer is really no, we can't, or at least not feasibly. Because again, you can't take one of Europe's busiest rail routes, which is the West Coast Main Line. You can't just take that and close it for X number of years, or even perform maintenance to that level on it without it causing severe disruptions. And the problem with modern day society is any time something doesn't quite work to the norm, Twitter comes out in its absolute mass, and just the toxicity that pours out of social media sometimes. I've seen it a lot recently. Luckily, I've not been someone who's been on the wrong side of it. Hopefully I never will, because trust me, I do not want that. That would be a horrible experience. But everyone's a critic these days. Everyone is a critic, and it does my head in, honestly, to see that. It really, really does. And again, I'm speaking as a rail enthusiast here, so of course I'm biased. But is it necessary? Absolutely not. There's always a critic. And these people who are currently campaigning against High Speed 2, saying it's nothing more than a vanity project and we should be using that money to upgrade existing infrastructure, they've technically got their wish now. And I still don't think they're 100% happy. So, as I said, the original... I keep going off on tangents here, and I do apologise. I'll get back on track. Pun fully intended, by the way. I'll get back on track as I go through, because, as I said, there's a lot to cover. And I'm trying to build and talk at the same time as well, and we all know how that normally goes. So yeah, phase 1 is underway. People are protesting against it, but it's effectively happening. Euston, there's been a lot of ground clearance going on there. I believe some platforms at Euston have already closed, ready for the work to begin. It's pretty much a dead cert that is going to happen. Also out in the Chilterns, work has begun. I think the tunnel boring machines have actually kicked into gear as well, which is always an exciting moment on any project. I always get a little bit downbeat though, and I don't mean to say this in a negative way, but I always find it really downbeat. So I watched Jeff Marshall's video. I mean, Jeff is my go-to guy. Some people like Gareth Dennis. I like Jeff Marshall. They're both, I'm sure. I've never watched Gareth Dennis, by the way, so I'm speaking as someone who's never watched him before. I am sure he's a very, very good content creator and a fountain of knowledge. But for me personally, Jeff Marshall is my go-to when it comes to rail news and things. I was watching his video about the tunnel boring machines, and the bit that really got to my heart was when the worker said these machines will be tunneling under the Chilterns for the next, and I think he said 2.5 years, something like that. And then it kind of hits you. In fact, it might have been longer than that. It might have been 4 years, he said. And that's when it kind of hits you like, oh yeah, this project is actually going to take a long, long time to come to fruition. And then that's when you start thinking, where are we going to be in life when these boring machines actually reach their goal? And I don't mean when High Speed 2 opens. I literally just mean when these boring machines reach the other end of the tunnels they're currently digging. Where are we going to be? If you think what's happened in the last 2 years in in this country and all over the world, there will be a machine of some kind that kicked into gear 2 years ago that has only just finished its job now, and the world it was designed for no longer exists. And I think that's what's going to happen here with High Speed 2 as well. By the time those boring machines reach their goal, the world that it was designed for won't exist anymore. Things will have changed. Things will have progressed. Thankfully, we also live in a world where people actually plan for that, or at least they used to. Come to that in a second. But yeah, phase 1 is underway. And it will be running to Birmingham. I've seen lots of different numbers. It used to be 2026. Obviously, that's now no longer possible. I think 2032 is a number that I've seen recently. Again, that might not be accurate. But sometime in the 2030s, I think, is what we're looking at now. And that's just for the first phase. So that's just from London to Birmingham. Phase 2A is scheduled to be a few years after that. I think 2A is going to start construction before phase 1 is complete. Again, I might be wrong there. Correct me if that is the case. But phase 2B now looks like is never going to happen. And that's the bit where I'm disappointed. I'm not just disappointed as a rail enthusiast. As good as it would be to see these things become a reality, I would be one of the first people to go on these trains just for the novelty factor, really. I've said this before, but any time I used to go to London with my brother, even if we went to the XL Centre, to RTX one year, and I basically lied to him and said that going on the Javelin out of St Pancras was quicker. Technically it is to get to Stratford, but the conversation that we had recently on Discord about how would you get from one part of London to another, and I always go with kind of the more circular route to try and avoid every man and his dog going the more direct route. And in this case, we're going to XL, so why not get on the from King's Cross, get on the Javelin from St Pancras to Stratford, and then get the DLR or the Jubilee line from there to Canning Town, and then get the DLR to Custom House, which is what we ended up doing. Is it quicker? Probably not. Do I have more fun going on the high-speed train? Absolutely. That bit, if you sit facing direction of travel as you leave St Pancras and go into the tunnel, I think it's called London West, I think is the name of the first tunnel out of St Pancras. If you sit facing the direction of travel anyway, as the train goes into that and starts speeding up, it's literally like being on a roller coaster that's launching at however many miles an hour. It's incredible. The pure acceleration on those trains is absolutely amazing. Again, I've distracted myself a little bit here, going off on a tangent. I will ride High Speed 2. even if I don't necessarily need to go to Birmingham or Manchester or Liverpool, I will find excuses to go and ride on those trains, because I think it's such a cool thing that we would have here in the UK. I feel like we're slacking a lot when it comes to high-speed rail compared to other countries around the world. And I mean, the only country I would have as an exception to that, and I apologize in advance, Americans, but you know, Brightline is the closest. I mean, the Northeast Corridor is getting upgraded. You've got the new Accelerate Express and things like that, but yeah, I don't really count that because it's not proper high speed. The new trains are going to be faster, don't get me wrong, but it's not really, is it? Let's be honest. It's not high speed. And then Brightline, you know, I think it was 75 to 150 miles an hour, which is really cute, but still not high speed, not really. And I know I'm saying that with, you know, high speed 1 here at 140 for the Javelins. I wouldn't class that as high speed myself these days. As harsh as that might sound, just isn't, as far as I'm concerned. It's like middle range speed, if that's even a thing. Anyway, again, tangent. So, high speed 2. I think I'm repeating myself now as well, which isn't very good. And I'm also nearly completing this build, so I might just distract myself for a second by going over this, and then we'll do the signaling here, and we'll build the stations, and then we'll move on to the second part. So yeah, what was I saying? High speed 2. Yeah, I'm looking at the map again. So Old Oak Common is the first station out of Euston. I think it might be the temporary terminus as well for a little bit after the project is complete. And again, I'm kind of going off old information here, so that might no longer be the case. I want to say, hang on, I need to concentrate what I'm doing here as well, otherwise I'm going to make a mistake. I want to say that's accurate, but I'm not entirely sure. So again, someone will correct me on that. Someone always corrects me. High speed 2 stations, by the way, the designs of them are absolutely incredible. And Old Oak Common is probably, I want to say Birmingham International, Interchange is one of my favourites, and it kind of is still. But what they've done with Old Oak Common to integrate it into Crossrail and GWR and the Overground is just freaking cool. I love it. It's such a cool design. And the fact that you can basically look from street level straight down onto high-speed tracks, that's rare. You don't see that very often, especially in this country. We tend to hide things underground a lot, which I'm not a huge fan of. It's either that or you have a big concrete ugly box like Stratford, which is hideous. Stratford International Station is absolutely disgusting. Every time I go there, it's just dreary and grey and horrible. And the area around it, is improving, don't get me wrong, but it's not pleasant, let's be honest. It's the arse end of a shopping centre and some blocks of flats that the last time I was there, at least, were still half built and not much more. So fingers crossed that changes. Bundwood don't like me. All right, gonna have to get the checkbook out, guys. So yeah, to try and get back on track then. I always do that. I always drag that down like it's going to make a difference. There we go. Poor. That's good enough. Of course, there's now a signal in the way. So yeah, right. High Speed 1 is built. It's very nice. It works. High Speed 2, Phase 1, is currently under construction. Phase 2A will be under construction. And that will go up as far as Crewe, where it will have an interchange with conventional rail. There will also then be dedicated high-speed tracks through Manchester Airport up as far as Manchester Piccadilly. And I'm going to refer to it as Manchester Piccadilly. It might not end up being Manchester Piccadilly, but for now, it's Manchester Piccadilly, let's be honest. That's 2A. 2B was meant to go up as far as Leeds and then beyond. Right now, though, it's been cut back to East Midlands Parkway from the looks of this map. And then we'll have what's called classic compatible trains, which are high-speed trains but can also run on regular main lines. Again, a bit like the Javelins. I think Hitachi are actually in the bidding process as well. So we could well be looking at another family of A trains, which I'm not a big fan of myself. It's one thing I don't like about High Speed 1 is the trains. They just feel a bit too sterile for my liking. I think that's one of the complaints that other people have had as well. Anyway, segue again. Yeah, so these classic compatible trains will run on high speed as far as East Midlands Parkway, and then they would have switched. So I think there was another station that was planned, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was like East Midlands Gateway, I think it was called, or at least that might have been a like placeholder name for it. And that would have then, I think it would have been high speed up as far as Leeds. And then from Leeds, or at least Sheffield, and then from Sheffield it would have branched off. But I know Leeds was going to have its own high-speed station at one point connected to the current Leeds station. But I think that's obviously fallen through now as well. But yeah, Phase 2B is being cut back as far as East Midlands Parkway, which, as I said, for me personally is a huge shame. I'm going to talk about numbers and stuff in a minute. But yeah, Master Trams asked me for my opinion on it today. At the time, I hadn't looked into it too much, and to be honest, I haven't read the reports or anything. I try to avoid stuff like that because it's full of like mumbo jumbo bullshit. Basically, it's people trying to sell you the world, but really they're just selling you a rock that they found in their back garden, and it's really not very impressive. And again, not to get too political, but when you look at who's actually trying to pitch these things, it's very, very obvious that they don't give a damn about the people that they're trying to pitch it to. They're in it for themselves, basically, and they're trying to appease the wrong people, and I don't like it. So we're not going to get too political, like I said. Politics, I hate politics. I hate politics at the best of times. Someone actually told me once I should go into politics, and I was like, no, thank you. I have a soul. I have a soul and I have a conscience, so no, thank you. But yeah, the fact that these plans are being cut back, it feels very cowardly as well. I almost feel like there's like election promises that are being broken, but don't hold me to that because I'm not sure about that. And I definitely don't want to mislead people on that front because that's not a very good thing to do either. So yeah, it's a bit crap right now. Let's be honest. This whole rail plan. I think Master Tram summed it up very, very well. Actually, I'll try and find the exact quote. Yeah, if you want a one sentence roundup of the document, it isn't an IRP, it's an RIP. And I think that's perfect. I mean, he's referring to the capacity of the routes. But I still think that's a perfect way to sum up all of this, to be honest. So the IRP was the Integrated Rail Project, I want to say, or Program. And obviously RIP, we all know what that stands for. It's not good. It just isn't good. And people are fixated on the numbers, and they keep... Again, one of the arguments about High Speed 2 was the journey times. People are saying we're spending X billion pounds on cutting the journey time between, London and Birmingham by 20 minutes. And yeah, that is one of the factors. But the biggest mistake that High Speed 2 made was using that as a selling point. That is not the selling point. The selling point is, by doing that, you're now opening capacity up on the rest of that network. So West Coast Main Line, suddenly, instead of having 4 express trains an hour between London and Birmingham, you might only need 1. I think there are still going to be fast trains between London and Birmingham. I'm going to use current franchise holders or contract management contract holders. Keep forgetting that system's changed as well. It's been a while. Since I talked about rail, I actually can't believe how long it's been since I talked about railways. It's crazy. But yeah, the management contract holders, right now it's LNWR, London North Western Railway, that run the sort of semi-fast and stopping services between London and places like Crewe, Birmingham, Liverpool, things like that. And then Avanti West Coast, who run the fast services. I believe Avanti are also supposed to be running High Speed 2 services, if that's still the case. I don't actually know if that's still part of the proposal or not, because obviously things have changed a little bit since then. If that is still the case, then I'll use them again as placeholders in this this little story I'm about to tell. So by opening High Speed 2, you're now making it so that the West Coast Main Line only needs to run 1 fast train an hour between London and Birmingham, because the other 3, it won't be 3, it'll be obviously more than 3, will be running on High Speed 2. That then means, oh god, get the checkbook out again. That then means that either more freight trains can run, or more semi-fast trains, or more commuter trains, which is effectively what people have been moaning about when they say, can we not spend the money upgrading the existing infrastructure? The answer is, you don't need to if you've got something else to relieve capacity. Crossrail in London is designed to relieve capacity on the central London tube lines, specifically the Central line, because that is arguably the worst tube line in all of London. I would actually argue the Bakerloo's a lot worse, but that's because I hate the Bakerloo line with an absolute passion. Why am I building stations, actually? I don't need to do that yet because I haven't signalled this. I also need to decide where this line is actually going. Oops, wrong thing. So yeah, we're alleviating congestion is what this whole project was originally about. Crossrail has obviously dented people's trust in rail projects, quite rightly so, if you ask me. It hasn't gone well. I don't know where this is going right now, so I'm just going to put a question mark. It's not done anyone any favours, let's put it that way. But I think that faith can be recaptured. High Speed 1 actually came in, or at least the Javelin services came in under schedule, ahead of schedule. You know, trains started running, I think, 2 years earlier than they were supposed to. And that was a good thing. That was a really, really good thing. What upsets me then is the fact that that wasn't then continued. All that hard work was then wasted by the next few projects. I believe London Overground was over schedule. That might be wrong, by the way. Don't hold me to that. Actually, London Overground technically was around the same time as High Speed 1. So maybe that's not true at all. I don't think that is true. Don't strike that from the record. I don't think that is true. I think I'm talking out my arse there. But the rest of it, you know, Crossrail was probably the culmination. Kenilworth, the reopening of Kenilworth Station, that was an absolute disaster. It's fine now, but it was so far behind schedule. And the mad thing is, so many stations have since reopened that are way under schedule. I keep saying under, you know what I mean, ahead of schedule. And yet that one was just an absolute cluster of mistakes and regrets and all sorts. It was an absolute mess. But it seems to be fine now. I think didn't they have to close it for a while as well after it just reopened? I might be making that up too. I seem to make up a lot of stuff as well at the moment. I don't know what's wrong with me. I seem to be one of those people who just yells at their PC screens about stuff. Yeah, I almost went political then. So almost slipped off the cliff there. Managed to hold myself on just in time. But yeah, again, without repeating myself too much, I'm not a fan of these proposals if they are what I've read. I'm kind of waiting for my magazine at the end of next week as well to kind of reaffirm what I think I've read. But I'm really not a fan of it. I think a lot of people in the north of England have been shafted once again. And I certainly don't agree with that. I think, again, this doesn't just benefit London. It was to benefit everybody. And there were whole high-speed projects. You know, High Speed 3 did exist for a while. Again, I think that's gone now. I think it became the Northern Powerhouse for a while. That also seems to have kind of died a death. And they're trying to bribe people in those communities with these other, promises of upgrading other rail infrastructure and things like that. But to me, it just doesn't sweeten the deal. It just makes it taste even worse. They're literally saying, you basically don't matter to us. We won't build this gleaming high-speed railway that we promised you, but we will upgrade the signal box in, I don't know, Huddersfield as an example, which I don't even think has a signal box anymore. But again, you know what I mean. It just feels wrong. It feels like the wrong people are making these decisions. It feels like people who don't even live in these communities are making decisions on their behalf. And again, without getting too political, I've never been a fan of that. I think, like I said, people are being shafted by these proposals. And yeah, so to talk about the numbers, I'm going to get that up on screen quickly. So they've decided for some stupid reason in this proposal to list what the original journey times would have been from A to B, and what the new proposals will be, which sounds like a good idea. Normally you do that when your new speeds are faster than the old speeds. Now, because this is a new rail project, they've obviously decided they want to flip the script slightly. So they've only shown the ones really where the new speeds are slower than the current speeds. And yes, slower. Some of them are only like a minute or two slower. Some of them are actually pretty close. They might be bang on or they might be slightly off. A couple of them are actually faster. But again, this is something Mastertram said earlier, which I couldn't help but agree with. Why are people so fixated on these numbers like they mean something? If you're building high-speed rail, sure, improved journey times is part of the selling point. But it's so much more than that. It's not just how much faster are you going to get to your meeting in London next Monday. It's also what capacity is that then freeing up on other lines. And it's also... what was the third one? The economical side of it as well, I was going to say, but that's not really applicable here because it's high speed, so it's going to be more expensive to ride on anyway. But, there was another really good point I was going to make. The fact that it's dedicated high speed. So you're not clogging up the existing infrastructure. Again, high speed rail is expensive, both to build and run. But I think... Trying not to speak as a rail enthusiast here, trying to speak as someone who's still going to be alive in this country, hopefully in 50 years' time. We've seen too many mistakes in terms of future-proofing projects. Already it looks like Crossrail isn't going to be enough. And Crossrail 2 is nowhere to be seen right now. And they boast about, these stations are being designed to cope with capacity increases of like 150 to 200%. So... London's going to keep growing. And sure, the Victorians didn't have the forethought to build stations that would eventually carry millions of people a year rather than just tens of thousands. But I think that's our priority. We should be looking at that. So, High Speed 2 should be designed for, 3031 rather than 2031. And how many people are going to be alive then? Are they going to be using it? If so, can we design it so that at least half of those people can actually be carried? And no is the simple answer. We haven't done that. There's no future-proofing here. At least not that far ahead. Whether you would think 1,000 years in the future, I don't know. London will probably be a city in the sky at that point. Or if you believe Peter Jackson, it'll be a city on wheels. But, yeah. Again, I'm starting to lose my my knowledge on these subjects, so if I start speaking gibberish, you'll have to forgive me. But these numbers, right? So, Manchester to Liverpool now is 50 minutes, and that's I think that's during COVID. I think before COVID it was actually faster. Yeah, 48 minutes pre-COVID. So it's gone up by 2 minutes, which, given the current situation, you can say fair enough. That's not something that was done deliberately. It was done unintentionally to kind of help recover and make sure that there is still a train running and things like that. So fair enough. Not going to critique that. That wouldn't be fair. But used to be 48. Let's take that number, because that is the number that they would have used had COVID not happened. The previous proposals reduced that to 29, which is approximately 60% of the current journey time. Approximately. It's probably not. What's it? 48 halved is 24. So it's just over half of the previous journey time, which, considering Liverpool and Manchester are two of the biggest cities in the UK, not just in the north of England, to have a train that can go between them in half an hour, that's pretty damn good, I would say. That's pretty damn good. New proposal, 35 minutes. It's gone up by 6. How's that happened? It's 6 minutes is not a huge amount of time on its own. But when you start adding it up with some of these other ones, which I'll do in a minute, it really does stack up. And if you're making multiple journeys in a day, it really will start to add up against you. Let's use another example. Where's one where it's gone up by a lot? Let's go really biased for a second. Actually, no, let's do devil's advocate for a second. Manchester to Newcastle. Currently, it's 139 minutes. The previous proposals was 103. So it was reduced by, what, 26? New proposals, 117. So it's still slower than the old proposals, but it is still faster than currently. And again, to that, I'd say fair enough. They've actually looked at a problem there, and they've come up with a solution. Manchester to Newcastle, I think, is a pretty common journey that people might make. So that's a good one to use. Fair play. They've kind of done a good job there. Now let's look at one that's absolutely terrible. If I can find one. I had one earlier that was awful. Oh, another one. Leeds to Liverpool. Used to be, or is currently 106. I think it was, is that IV? I think I'm looking at there. Which was 85 minutes pre-COVID. So that's already gone up like 21 minutes. That's not good. The previous proposal, 61. New one, 73. So it's still a lot faster than it is now, but it's still 12 minutes slower than the old proposals. There was one I saw that was absolutely horrendous in terms of the new journey time. There's one London to Leeds, which again is a fairly common route. LNER have their own designated service between London and Leeds from King's Cross. Currently, it is, I've lost my place, 133 minutes. The old proposal would have made it 81, and that would have been using Phase 2B of High Speed 2. Because that's now effectively cancelled, we have to look at the new proposal time, which is 113. So it's gone up by 32 minutes, a full half an hour plus change. That, to me, is stupid. That is really stupid. And if people want to mock High Speed 2 for saving 20 minutes on a journey time, surely they have to then criticise for adding 20 minutes to a journey time. London to Leeds, I can't imagine like millions of people a year are going to be making that journey. I could be wrong. I've got nothing against Leeds, by the way. I think Leeds is a fine city in its own right. But what I'm saying is it's not exactly a powerhouse when it comes to commuting. And I think this is just going to put people off doing anything about that. I don't think it's going to suddenly become a rail destination in the UK. Especially not if it takes half an hour longer to get there. Compared to the current time, it's still faster. It's 20 minutes faster. But compared to the old proposal, it's half an hour slower. And I just don't see how that in any way benefits those people in Leeds who do want a journey to London, assuming the return journey is the same time. Nor is it really going to encourage people to travel from London to Leeds. At least not by rail. They might drive. Some people might even fly, which I think is also really stupid, but that's a different argument for a different day. The problem we have right now is we have people in decision-making positions who do a lot of what I call knee-jerking, which is they'll announce something, wait to see what the reaction is to it, and then change the plan. I don't like that. I don't think this is happening here either. I don't think there's going to be a sudden we've had a change of heart based on public reaction. I think this is pretty much set in stone now. And that's what's really disappointing for me. Is, again, speaking as a rail enthusiast, trying to put my neutral cap on here, but it's just not always possible. I'm very disappointed that these proposals aren't going ahead. I think there's a real missed opportunity. Considering we're supposed to be this amazing independent country that don't need no Europe, we're really not showing that we can handle ourselves on our own. Really, really not. And again, I'm sorry, I'm trying not to get political here, but we've made lots of mistakes in the last 10 years, and this is definitely one of the biggest ones in my opinion. And these same people right now who are campaigning against High Speed 2 are going to be the same people standing on the platform at Euston in 6 years' time, demanding to know why their train's been cancelled because of the upgrade works that they so wanted 6 years prior, that are now holding them up, getting to their... I don't know. Andy said something really, really dumb then. I don't know. They're no, I don't know. I can't think of an analogy. Just think. Complete that sentence yourself. What might someone who protests against rail projects be heading towards that they'd need the train for? You know the expression. Don't bite the hand that takes you to your hippie conventions. That's probably the best way of saying it. I don't want to name names here and single people out. And don't get me wrong, I do agree that wasting public money is a crime in itself, and I've seen a lot of people doing that. in my lifetime, and I've seen a lot of people punished for that, and I think quite rightly so. I don't think this is one of those things. I certainly don't think individuals benefit from this. I think as a whole we will benefit from this, and as I said, it really saddens me that it's not going ahead now, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who will speak like that. So yeah, these journey times are crap. It certainly doesn't make me want to travel on these trains anytime soon. I mean, I'm saying that they don't exist yet, but you know what I mean when they do. Unless they find another way to magically speed them up. I believe the top speed of High Speed 2 has dropped significantly from when it was originally announced. I think it was like 250, might have even been closer to 280 miles an hour. Then it dropped to 250, then it dropped again, then it dropped again, and now it's like barely faster than an HST. It's tragic. It's really tragic, and I think it makes us a bit of a laughing stock, in all honesty, and I'm not a huge fan of that. Yeah, don't like it. But on the logistics side of it, I'm not one who knows everything about parts of the UK when it comes to rail capacity and things like that. I'll be the first one to admit the Midland Main Line is definitely not my area of expertise. I grew up on the East Coast Main Line. That was kind of my thing. I took a lot of interest in the Great Western Main Line because, you know, I'm a big fan of Brunel and things like that. And obviously it's not the same as what Brunel built, but it is still, you know, the same routes and same relatively similar ideology, in fact. So I've always taken an interest in the GWR as well. And that's about it as far as I have swatted up on when it comes to UK rail. So I'm not the most in the know when it comes to Midland Main Line, for example, but Master Trams has again come to my rescue here and provided me with some info. So yeah, I'm going to read this out actually directly, this quote, because I think it's actually hitting the nail on the head as far as I'm concerned. Looking at the pages, so George sent through some pages, the ones I read out with journey times and stuff like that. Looking at the pages George has posted above, you're getting a perfect example of what the document does wrong. It's obsessed with journey times. Absolutely. It is obsessed. It's literally like, look guys, look, we're so much faster than we currently are. And if we keep distracting you with that, you won't notice the fact that we're slower than what we originally said we would be. And that's exactly it. You get so obsessed with these journey times that you fail to see the bigger picture, which in this case, according to Master Trams at least, is the fact that once the route gets to East Midlands Parkway, what paths is it going to take from there to places like Sheffield and beyond? Because there's already an operator that operates on the Midland Main Line, and it's not full to bursting or anything, but it's certainly not got loads of paths free. So how exactly, where's the capacity coming from for this? Are we going to have to close the Midland Main Line for 10 years as well as the West Coast Main Line to open up this extra capacity? Turns out the answer is probably going to be yes, because right now there's only there's an hourly service between Matlock and Derby. Considering the size of Matlock as main line, that's George. Master Trams says here it should be a half-hourly service. Arguably, it should maybe even be every 20 minutes, depending on how many commuters travel from Matlock to Derby. If you want to get people out of their cars and on the train, that's one of the best ways to do it, is run larger trains more frequently. And then you get the best of both worlds. You get the extra capacity from the more trains, and you get the extra capacity from the bigger trains. Again, not everyone thinks about it quite as black and white as that. And that's it. It's capacity. You can't just say, we're going to run more trains on the East Coast Main Line, for example, to make up for the eastern leg of High Speed 2 being cancelled. Because where's that extra capacity coming from? How is it suddenly you can't run more Azumas right now between London and Newcastle, but you can suddenly cram in a load of high-speed trains? Sure, they run faster. The headway might be a little bit shorter because of that, but they still exist physically. They've still got to run on a track somewhere, and it just doesn't sound like there is one for them. How's that work? Don't know. Doesn't seem to be thought about too much. They just It's kind of like what I'm doing right now, really. I've drawn a line on a map, and now I'm building a railway to match that line. Is this where I'm terminating? I guess it is where I'm terminating. Over here at Great Channington. I could potentially get up here to Invetwood. We'll have this as like a little commuter belt. I did follow the right line, didn't I? Yeah, I think I did. That would have been awkward, wouldn't it? A bit embarrassing. Yeah, again, I'm losing my train of thought here a little bit. But the new proposals may mean Matlock struggles to keep its current hourly service, since capacity at Derby will be even more limited than it currently is. And actually, that's a really good point as well. Derby was remodeled not long ago. Did they remodel it to include potentially High Speed 2 being routed through it? Absolutely not. Did they think that was going to happen? Absolutely not. Why would it have happened? There was a plan to build it via its own dedicated route. Why would they need to rebuild Derby to meet a line that wasn't even going to go through Derby? They just didn't think about it, is the answer. And I'm not talking about the people who remodeled Derby. I'm talking about now the people who decided that Derby's suddenly going to become this huge interchange station for high speed and not. It's embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. And I've seen, again, these so-called decision makers, I've seen them recently put their foot in their mouth so often, they basically had to learn yoga for 6 months prior to make sure they didn't pull a muscle. It's ridiculous, the amount of cock-ups that these people are making. And again, desperately trying not to get too political here, but it's getting beyond a joke. Like, it used to be funny. We used to go, ha ha ha, look, that person said something stupid. They meant to say this, but instead they said this. Whereas now it's kind of like, what? That's what they said. And I've watched these videos and I'm just dumbstruck at how stupid these people are. Absolutely dumbstruck. And I've met some right idiots in my time as well, let me tell you. And I'm still, like, just when you think nothing can surprise you anymore, someone finds a way. Trust me, they find a way. And they don't think about the people affected by these decisions. They don't care about people in Matlock, unless there's an election coming up, of course, in which case they care too much about the people of Matlock, and it becomes a bit cringy in the other direction. But yeah, it's personally, it's beyond a joke now for me. You know, I've been around long enough to see many rail proposals planned and cancelled. That's why now when people post on Discord, I come across as this miserable bastard who's just like, I believe it when I see it. And this is why, because I've been led down the garden path way too many times for these really fancy projects that then don't go anywhere. And the ones that really hit home for me are the ones that affected me directly in my life. So, for example, there was meant to be a light rail project many years ago that was going to link, I think it was Luton, Hatfield, St Albans, things like that. For those of you that don't know, I'm from Hatfield. That would have been awesome. You know, I don't like trams as much as I like railways. I'll be the first one to admit that. But to actually have a light rail system in my hometown, that was pretty cool. And driving around Hatfield, I could see where the line could potentially run. There's an old railway line that used to run between Hatfield and St Albans called the Auburn Way. I've ridden my bike along it. It's a bike track now. And that would be perfect for something like that. It runs right near where I used to live when I grew up. That died a death. No idea what happened to that. I think now they're just campaigning to get a second, like a loop built on the Abbey line between Watford Junction and St Albans Abbey. And even that is turning out to be a bit of a slog. So, you know, to say disappointment comes a lot when you're a rail enthusiast is a bit of an understatement. It basically slaps you in the face constantly. And again, I do understand to an extent. You can't just waste taxpayers' money on vanity rail projects. I get that. We're not really a country that wants to do that. We have done that before, but we're not really one that wants to do that again. At least I hope we're not. Some people, yeah, that's another conversation for another day. So I do understand the whole thing of we don't want to be seen to be wasting money. You know, everything that is done these days has to be costed first to make sure that everyone's happy, blah, 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 blah. Again, there's this thing of if you try and please everyone, you end up pleasing no one. People seem to forget that as well. And it's just damn depressing. It really is. every time a project fails, I'm kind of just sat there like, yep, knew that was going to happen. Every time something's announced to be cancelled, I'm just like, yep, saw that coming a mile off. And again, I come across as being miserable on Discord because of it, but ultimately, I've seen it too many times. I can see it before it happens these days. I've yet to be wrong. I knew as soon as there was talk about the eastern leg of High Speed 2 being cancelled, I knew it was dead in the water. It had no chance, basically. Those who want it to succeed are far fewer than those who want it to fail. And the ones who wanted it to fail seem to have gotten their way before it even had the chance to fail. Or succeed, for that matter. Because it's gone. And what's replacing it is piss poor at best. Let's be honest. It's not good. They might try and get it to work, and they might find a way to drag some life out of it, but ultimately it's not. I don't think it's going to work. I think it's going to fail. And the problem is those who wanted that to fail as well, or those who wanted High Speed 2 to fail, and they're going to find a way to blame High Speed 2 for this. They'll say it was too expensive. There are still people right now, by the way, who want the first leg of High Speed 2 to just be cancelled. And they keep getting told it's gone too far for that. And they're staggering. Because as soon as it gets cancelled and we, just abandon whatever we've done so far, which isn't happening as far as I'm concerned, they'll then complain about, waste of money, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it would be. Of course it would be. And I hate it. I hate these people so much. If you're one of these people, by the way, and you're watching this, I don't hate you as an individual necessarily, but I do hate that, hypocrisy of protesting to have something cancelled and then complaining about how much it costs when it is. Don't like it. And all these people with influence on social media using their platform to try and get things like this cancelled, and in some ways spreading misinformation as well. Really don't like them. Really don't like them. And again, I'm not even talking about current things that are being spread on social media that may or may not be true about this, that, and the other. Can you tell I've lost the plot? I think it's pretty obvious now, isn't it? Gone way off on a tangent. I'm just going to build these stations here whilst trying not to let my head explode, and then start wrapping up this episode, I think, whilst weeping about the fact that, once again, something I was really looking forward to existing isn't going to. Would have been really handy to go visit some of my relatives up north as well. Just hop on a high-speed train. That would have been cool. And saves journey times to Scotland too. Because obviously it doesn't run... Actually, I think there were plans originally to run directly to Edinburgh and Glasgow on high-speed tracks. That got cancelled very early on. But since then, just the other stuff, just you could get a train to Edinburgh so much faster and then change onto a conventional rail, and that would save like an hour off your journey, which I would take that. I would take that and run. But not everyone thinks the same as I do. Hey ho. What can you do? Anyway, I don't know why I shut this window just to open it again. So I'm going to finish off this episode by trying to be a bit more positive, because I don't want to be like, we're all doomed. Okay, see you later, guys. Because that's not very fun, is it? So there are some things actually that are very positive right now. New rail lines being open, for example. I'll talk about those more in a future episode because, I'll highlight them now, but I still don't think there's too much to celebrate in that. Because, again, a lot of these, we talk about future-proofing and planning and things like that. A lot of these railways that are reopening to huge fanfares and, politicians and local council and things going, haha, we've saved you. Yeah, they used to exist. Most of these stations used to exist, and they got closed during the beaching cuts or just before or just after. And you're basically righting a wrong. And sure, celebrate the fact that it's, justice isn't the right word, but the wrong has been righted. But it's still not really something to properly celebrate, if you ask me, because it should have never been closed in the first place. I still think one of the biggest crimes in this country was closing the Great Central Railway. We've got two great heritage railways out of it, and I think the work they're doing is awesome, and hopefully they will bridge that gap soon and make it even more awesome. But the rest of it it should never have been an issue. You know, that railway should still be open now. That railway actually would have been perfect to upgrade into a high-speed railway. It goes straight from London, right through the heart of the Midlands, right up to the north of England. How perfect would that have been? But actually, someone wanted, when talk of building a railway to Europe was first this might sound crazy. Someone wanted to build a channel tunnel back in the 1800s. And this was around the time the Great Central was being built. And I believe they said this is the perfect railway for that. And the Great Central was actually built to European loading gauges for that reason. It was going to become the first channel tunnel, the first continental railway in the UK. And he got laughed at. They called him crazy. And nowadays, that would have been perfect. And there's all these night trains that are being talked about, and other like sleeper services and RENFE running domestic services here in England and the UK in general. How awesome would it have been if the Great Central still existed and became the backbone of those services? Personally, I think that would have been awesome. I think that would have been a really, really good rail service to run. Really good opportunity. Perfect, basically. And now it can't happen because the Great Central doesn't exist. At least that end, it doesn't exist. And even things like the East-West Rail project, that's been overly complicated now because they're having to build around housing estates that were built over the route. It's obviously in the 1960s, you can't predict that these things are going to happen. Some of the land was sold off at the time. Then you can predict that these things were going to happen. But ultimately, you don't know for certain what's going to happen, in 2012 when you're in the 1960s. So I'm not going to, bash them over the head too much about it. But again, as a rail enthusiast, I just think it was an absolute crime that the Great Central Railway was closed. Because nowadays, that would have been good. And you look at all these other rail routes that are being reopened, and they're being celebrated, and rightly so, but at least half of them should have still been open anyway. And whole communities were affected by these closures. You've got the rise of the car, which may or may not have happened anyway, but it certainly didn't help that people didn't have an alternative methods of travel. And now we've got these problems with, air pollution. People fly everywhere. People drive everywhere. People are reluctant to take the train. Ticket prices are constantly rising because people, the railway has to pay for itself now, effectively. It is still funded by tax money, but probably not as much as it would have been had it have continued to be the dominant form of transport throughout the 70s and 80s. And again, my history can be a little hazy, and I'm incredibly biased, but it really does sadden me to see these things happening. And it also winds me right up when I see even like reopening schemes getting cancelled. That pisses me right off, let me tell you. Because why? Sure, it might be a little bit more expensive. Things like Kenilworth, for example. It's not good how much that cost. But I bet the people of Kenilworth are very, very glad that they now have a direct rail service. It's a bit underserved still for my liking. I'd like to see more services on offer. I think is it an hourly service on... Again, it's changed a bit since I last looked, so it's probably not right now. And it was a single car unit. I think that's now no longer the case. But it's patronising as well. Not a fan of that either. Anyway, if you're still watching at this point, first of all, awesome, thank you. Second of all, I'm very, very sorry. Third of all, we're pretty much done with this project now. So we have a brand new railway running through the heart of the city. Oh, it's not really the heart of the city. You know what I mean? Running through this area. So from GSB, we have a new line that runs up to Bunhattan. These station names are not set in stone, by the way. These will change. In fact, I might change them now on camera just while I'm finishing up this episode. And then we got this other new line, which does extend a little ways outside of the city, up to Invetwood here. But you can imagine with extra bus services connecting all of this up, you can even have like a long distance coach service between, say, Plintbridge Parkway and Invertwood, and that would provide competition with the railway. And I like this. I think this is this was overdue, by the way, this spur being complete, and I'm glad to see that I've actually finally done it. Some of you might agree with what I've said today. Some of you might disagree. There's no right or wrong, I suppose, in this. One thing I don't want to hear, though, is what Gareth Dennis thinks. And again, nothing against him, but I've been hit over the head so hard with that stick over the years. Again, I said this before, to become sick of someone that you've never met, never spoken to, and never watched a video of, purely because everyone else talks about them like they're God, it can get a little bit tiresome. So please don't comment what he thinks. Please don't comment on his videos what I think. Neither of us, I don't think, care. Let's be honest here. I'm sure he doesn't care what I think, and I'm not that interested in what he thinks. But I will say, again, just as a, you know, playing devil's advocate a little bit, he works in the rail industry and I don't. So if you want to listen to someone, he's probably the best person to listen to. So I'm just trying to remember how to spell the word promenade. I think that's right. So do comment below your thoughts on this subject. Your thoughts, no one else's, just your own. If I've got any facts wrong throughout this, please do let me know, because again, I don't want to be seen to be spreading misinformation, particularly if it feeds my own agenda. I try not to be that one of those people if I can help it. But otherwise, yeah, let me know what you think. I need a name for this. Let me think of a something road, maybe. Okay. I just saw a box on top of our wardrobe, so I'm going to go with Box Hill Road. It's kind of on a hill. There we go. And then over here, we've got Menhill City Old Town. Not to be confused with Menhill City. There will be a bus shuttle, I think, that would connect these two up. Sorry, I keep distracting myself as well. Again, if you managed to listen to my incoherent rants throughout this video, I really must applaud you. I should start printing certificates or something, because, you know, I've been out of the game for a while when it comes to talking about rail news. I tried to steer clear of that stuff. I knew something was brewing. It's kind of why I did, like, cruise ships and buses and stuff for a bit, because I felt like something was coming. I didn't see the announcement when it was first made. I read about it a few days later, and then thanks to you guys on Discord, I heard about most of what it was all about. But I knew something was coming. I heard whispers, and I follow certain people on Twitter who were talking about it, and it made me think maybe get out of it for a while and just stay away from it. And I know I've been quite negative today, but believe me, I could have been a lot worse. I try to be quite positive a lot of the time, which again might be a weird thing for you to hear me say, but I tend to like bury my head in the sand when I know something bad's about to happen, and that's kind of why. Yeah, that's just kind of why. That's all I can say about that. It's kind of why I've just not been talking about rail stuff recently. Yeah, we just go Froningwell and Froningwell East. That's fine. Bundwood. I'll go with something else here. We'll go with like Woodbridge. Have I got a Woodbridge? Oh, wow. Okay. Woodsbridge, then. Actually, I'll make that one word. Or Woodsridge. Yeah, Woodsridge. That's a good name. And then you're just going to be Bundwood. There we go. And then final station here is Flenninghall East. I think that's fine. Flenninghall North. And then one tiny little piece left to do here is you and you. You are deny. Oops. If entry direction is from the back, then if next order is that one, then allow. And then you are going to copy from that one, but you're not going to be north, you're going to be east. Alrighty, like I said, if you manage to listen to my incoherent ranting, I mean, it might not even be incoherent ranting. It feels like it, because I just speak from the heart when I talk about these things. And some people agree, some people disagree. I'm trying not to offend anyone or turn anyone off these videos as such. I can only speak what I think about these things, and you guys can only speak about what you think about these things. And to be honest, a lot of what I've been reading on our Discord today, I agree with. I think the priorities are all wrong. I think the wrong people are being benefited, the right people are being, or the wrong people are being screwed, but you know what I mean, like the people who were in the right are now being screwed. I don't think it benefits anybody, what's being proposed here. Sure, journey times between, you know, Leeds and London might be slightly quicker than they currently are, but they're also going to be a lot slower than what they should be. And that's the bit that winds me right up, and I'm sure it winds you right up as well. We keep getting patronised, and that's the bit I really don't like. But anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video here, guys. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Other than that, thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. And of course, if you're enjoying the series, drop those comments down below. Like I said, if you've got ideas for future episodes in this series as well, please do drop those comments down below too. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I could kind of understand why you wouldn't after this, but please do anyway. Please do consider it. It's not all me just talking about this, that, and the other. Sometimes we actually build some good stuff too. Check out the playlist as well. I'm starting using cards and stuff during videos. You might have noticed that. Check out all of those. The links are there for a reason. Specifically, this series, Railroads Online, Transport Fever, and Rail Route. I've got them all linking to each other. So if you like one, you should like the rest. So please go check those out as well. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support. It means a lot. Please do join the Discord as well, and we can chat about this more over there. Again, try not to make it political if you can, but it's kind of becoming harder and harder to police that, to be honest, because we're all starting to break the rules slightly, and I think there's going to be a point where we're like, just don't be offensive, and you can talk about politics. But we're not quite there yet, so please try and keep it not political if you can help it. But do join in the conversation. We're always talking about the latest announcements and things like that. So do join the Discord. Link is in the description down below. And yeah, thanks for watching once again, guys. And until next time, I will see you soon.